Janebishkin, Janebishkin, is the attorney that's representing the officer. So I'm going to hand it over to Jane and let her do her thing. So I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you, Mr. Todd.
Good afternoon. Eric Casebolt tendered his resignation as a police officer with the City of McKinney effective yesterday. He did so with a heavy heart, knowing that his resignation was not only in his best interest, but also that of his fellow police officers and the City of McKinney, Texas. It is his hope that his resignation will facilitate the cooperative relationship between the citizens and the police officers of the City of McKinney. Eric is unable to be here today, but I know he would like to address the media at some point in the near future. I ask that you respect his privacy as he and his family deal with the difficult emotional issues that have risen in this case. I'm here today as his legal representative to give you Eric Casebolt's perspective. The video that everyone has seen only depicts a small part of Eric's actions that day at the Craig Ranch neighborhood in McKinney, Texas. Eric was assigned the evening shift that day and began working at 6 p.m. His first call was a suicide at an apartment complex where an African-American male had shot himself in the head at a poolside in the apartment complex. The male had done so in the presence of his family, his children, other parents, and children. Eric assisted the officers, the McKinney officers who responded. He assisted them in securing the scene, photographing the body, and collecting statements. Eric also spent a considerable amount of time consoling the man's grieving widow. Immediately thereafter, he responded to a second suicide call. This one was involving a teenage girl who was threatening to commit suicide by jumping off of her parents' roof. Eric assisted by calming the girl enough so that she could be transported safely to the hospital. Eric's compassion during these two incidences are a testament to his character and all of the officers who work for the McKinney Police Department. The nature of these two suicide calls took an emotional toll on Eric Casebolt. They serve as a reminder that while police work is often dangerous, it is fraught with emotions and family tragedy. When the Craig Ranch neighborhood incident came over the radio, Eric Casebolt was reluctant to respond to a simple trespassing call, given what he had just been through. He was content to let the other officers handle this call. However, once the call was escalated and responded to possible violent assaults, he felt and believed it was his duty to respond. Eric's actions at the Craig Ranch neighborhood were only an attempt to investigate the reports of violent assaults. His purpose was to interview as many persons as possible to determine who was involved. He believed that those who fled were possible suspects. He was not targeting minorities. In fact, he also detained a white female who you do not see on the video. His efforts to gather information was hampered by some teenagers who were instructing others to defy police instructions. With all that had happened that day, he allowed his emotions to get the better of him. Eric regrets that his conduct portrayed him in his department in a negative light. He never intended to mistreat anyone, but was only reacting to a situation and the challenges that it presented. He apologizes to all who were offended. That day was not representative of the 10-year service to the community of McKinney, and it is his hope that by his resignation, the community may start to heal. I thank you so much for your time.
Taking questions now?
No, sir, I'm not going to take any questions at this time. Thank you.
Good afternoon. On June 9th, 2015, McKinney Fraternal Order Police Lodge 107 member Eric Casebolt resigned his position as corporal with the McKinney Police Department. The decision made by Eric was one which was extremely difficult to make. Eric made this choice with the hopes of unburdening the McKinney Police Department and the entire community of McKinney from any further negative publicity. Eric understands the pressure that was being placed on the department and city administrators. He hopes that his resignation will restore the peace in McKinney that was disturbed by this incident. Eric faithfully and honorably served the McKinney PD for 10 years. He was a dedicated and decorated officer who in this instance was placed in a high-stress environment that he was not fully prepared for. Eric was a top performer within the department and received the Officer of the Year award for his conduct and service. This incident and the 7 minutes worth of video does not fully depict Eric's moral and ethical character along with his contributions to the department over a span of 10 years of committed service. The McKinney FOP and Eric are extremely grateful for the outpouring of support that he has received from the McKinney community as well as from citizens across the country. Unfortunately, this positive show of support has and will always be overshadowed by hatred and those set on creating racial tensions in America. This includes the countless death threat calls and emails being received that are not being conveyed to the public. The McKinney FOP, along with the Texas State FOP Lodge, will continue to provide any assistance necessary to Eric and his family. The McKinney FOP is confident when all the information is justly and unbiasedly investigated, the truth surrounding this incident will be uncovered. Thank you.
Are any of you taking questions?
No, sir.
Because she left a big question hanging. Are you guys suggesting that out of the 12 cops that were there at the scene, that Casebolt was the only one who responded to either of the suicides and this?
1 minute. Yeah. We have, because there's still an active investigation being done by the McKinney Police Department, we think it's inappropriate for us to comment on something like that as much as we'd like to.
You mentioned an
raised it.
apology though, ma'am.
Right.
You mentioned an apology. Does that apology extend to that 14/15-year-old that's involved in all of that?
Yes, anyone who feels, who was offended, yes.
What about the death threats? Can you say that we're not essentially telling people enough about that? Can you guys elaborate? Can you how often, who they're going to? You can't, that's medium, phone call. Yeah, were they phone calls, emails? We also heard some talk about people vandalizing homes. Is that true? Is there any truth to any of that?
I'll try to answer all your questions you asked all at once. I can answer to the death threat calls and emails. Those are coming in daily, on a daily basis to, I can't speak for I'm not here to speak for the McKinney Police Department at all. I'm here to speak for the Fraternal Order Police. I can confirm that I have received some. I know Eric Casebolt has received some as well. As far as your question regarding vandalism, again, I'd have to refer you to the McKinney Police Department to answer those questions.
Because several people from the community have said, some activists have said that they believe assault charges should be filed against Eric Casebolt in regard to his treatment of Jadaria Becton. Is he the subject of, to your knowledge, a criminal investigation regarding the actual, the physical treatment of this 15-year-old girl?
Yeah, I believe to answer your question, I do not know any more than you all know. All I know is what Chief Connolly reported in his conference yesterday. Beyond that, we have not been notified of any independent investigations, any other criminal investigations, or whether an investigation is even being done.
Why didn't he come today?
Honestly, the death threats. He's worried for his family. He's worried he may be followed, and until that threat subsides, he's going to, be in an undisclosed location.
Are the death threats against his family also, or just
I'm not sure if they're against his family, but they have definitely be against him.
Can I go back?
Saying they've been forced to leave their home, said undisclosed.
Yes, they've been forced to leave their home.
I'm I'm gonna go back to, is it emails, phone calls, give me something, can you give me more nature of it?
I believe it's been phone calls into the police department regarding him. He has tried to remove any ability to contact him directly.
At what juncture, ma'am, did he make it aware to you that he knew that people were viewing, some people were viewing this as a racially tinged act on his response during his work there? That when did he become aware that it was viewed in that manner by some?
I think he became aware immediately, the minute that it was reported by the media and interviews were being done. I think he knew immediately that that was an issue.
Will he keep his pension and benefits?
According to the city of McKinney, I believe he does keep his pension and benefits, yes.
Can you tell us whether Mr. Casebolt is aware of reports that the police department now is actually getting angry and in some cases racially inflammatory calls using racial epithets of people accusing the police department of not supporting Eric Casebolt, people on his behalf calling the police department in a very negative way?
Yeah, I have no information, no way to confirm that.
Can you guys answer that question?
Yeah, we have a.
No, ma'am, I cannot speak on behalf of the police department at all.
Have you heard that? Have you heard those reports? Because that's what I've heard in McKinney, that they are actually now getting angry phone calls of a racist nature, of people angry at the police department for not supporting in people's view.
Not standing by.
Right, not standing by.
Ma'am, and sir, I can't confirm or deny any of those accusations, but again, I can't speak on behalf of the McKinney Police Department.
So is there an investigation going on as to who made the calls? Tracing them back? Are they trying to find out who did this?
Once again, I cannot confirm I can't talk on behalf of the PD.
Y'all folks, they only know what they're being told by the McKinney Police Department, and because they're representing the officer, they're not getting all of the things that they've asked for. So to ask them to comment on that is kind of unfair. I'm sure that the McKinney Police Department is going to do their due diligence to deal with that. But in this case, where we are right now is to try and let them give an opportunity to get Officer Casebolt's story out and where he's at. And to,
Ms. Michigan, is she being, is the FOP actually?
she's the attorney that represents him for the FOP. She's the FOP attorney in this case. Yes.
So what's
So-
next for Mr. Casebolt?
I can't answer to that. Right now, he's waiting for this process to go through. He has received a lot of support from many individuals around the country. He's sad that it's his lifelong dream to be a police officer, and that's pretty much cut off to him now. So he really doesn't have any plans for the future specifically yet. He's still waiting for the process, for the investigations to be done. As Chief Connolly said, he's facing possible criminal charges, so he has to prepare for that as well.
Have you watched the video with him, and what was his reaction?
No, I did not watch the video with him. And
You talked about his emotions making him hesitant to respond to the pool. What were those emotions?
well, I'm going to allow him soon enough to answer those questions where his state of mind was. I can't really answer to that right now as much as I'd like to.
But on his apology, what specifically, did you explain what he's apologizing about?
Well, again, he is apologizing that his conduct offended. He recognizes, and I think I said this, that he does recognize that his emotions got the best of him, and that the prior suicide calls put him in an emotional place that he would prefer not to have been in when responding to this call. And
Can you say whether or not former Officer Casebolt posted the video of the incident to his personal YouTube account?
that I do not know. I appreciate you all coming today. I'm not going to answer any more questions.
Further details like what year he was officer of the year and other accolades?
No, I don't have those information.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank everybody for